The Dolphins were down 3 touchdowns. Tua had a 4th down and was scrambling. And instead of sliding after getting the first down, and there's a very set rule in football, when the quarterback slides down, you may not touch him. And defensive players do not touch him. But if you're going to lead shoulder pad or head first, then you are a offensive player, not a quarterback, trying to pick up yards. You can get tackled. Tua had gotten the first down and still went head first into Damar Hamlin. Yes, that Damar Hamlin, who of the Bills, who is back playing now after miraculously surviving his heart scare. And Tua went down immediately. Tua was down. Players were on their knees. Tua was helped off the field. He went off the field under his own power, but he looked as though he wouldn't be able to tell you what day it was, what the score was, or how to add 2 + 2. Walked back to the locker room. Football insiders were immediately tweeting concussion. Then it was announced he's out with a concussion. Then it started with he ought to retire. And this is former football players from Shannon Sharp to Antonio Brown. Basically, people who have a voice in football talking about how scary this is, how unfortunate, how sad. And here's an angle that I think you should consider. I'm going to start with the wiry, I'm a robot front office angle, and then take it from there. Tua did not have a long-term deal until just a few, I guess it could be few weeks ago, when he signed that $210 million deal. He became the quarterback that he always wanted to be. More than $50 million per year. Record until Dak Prescott took it over, or Jordan Love took it over. I don't remember the sequence. I just know Dak was last. The Dolphins did not have to sign Tua to that deal. There was a tremendous amount of pressure put upon Stephen Ross to sign Tua to that deal. Pressure that comes from being an octogenarian who's never won a playoff game in your ownership career that is coming to an end, way closer to ending than it is to starting. The view that what's better out there than Tua? Are we going to go back into the draft and start over? Is there a trade out there? Do we trade for Russell Wilson? Do we sign Ryan Tannehill? We have the best offense in the league last year. Tua led the league in passing yards. We have a coach that does nothing but put this quarterback in a position to be the best he can be. We have a quarterback who takes jiu-jitsu lessons because he had so many concussions in 2022, 2 known concussions. He made it through a full season in 2023. Everyone said, hey, he's stronger. He's learned how to fall. It's all good. Let's sign him. When you sign a player that has an injury history, you are taking a major risk. You could try to insure the guarantee portion of the contract, but when you go to an insurance company, they will tell you that the premium required to insure a player like Tua is so prohibitively large. And on top of that, we're probably not going to cover concussions because he looks predisposed to get concussions. So we're going to carve it out. If he has an Alex Smith injury and his legs get cut into 5 pieces, or he has his hip fall out, or his arm falls off, that we can talk about insuring, but the premium is going to give you night sweats. The reason I know about this so well is I was in the market to insure players when we would sign them to long-term deals. And more often than not, we would not take the insurance. And the reason we would not take the insurance is that we didn't want to pay the huge premium every year, knowing that the way the insurance works is that the player would have to miss a full year with an injury that gets certified by the insurance company, likely after a negotiation, if not a lawsuit. And then if the player is still out after missing a full year with the same injury, then the insurance company would pay the salary of the player. Staggering, isn't it? So we would decide to self-insure, which is code word for no insurance. When a company tells you or a team tells you they're going to self-insure a player, what they want you to think is they're secreting money away in a segregated account. And they're doing that as a protection against a player being injured, because then if the player gets hurt and they have to pay out that player, they pay it from this segregated fund, in which case they haven't hurt their ability to field the current team of healthy players. It is absolute horse hockey. Nobody puts the money in segregated accounts, even when you're supposed to, when there's rules requiring segregated accounts for deferrals and things like that in baseball. Either way, no one's doing it. Self-insurance is, hey, we're crossing our fingers, we're holding our breath, and we're hoping that this player plays. I haven't seen whether or not the Dolphins have insurance on Tua's contract, but I'm willing to bet you dollars to donuts that they do not. Football contracts are different than baseball contracts, which are fully guaranteed at signing. Football contracts are not. Tua's money was not fully guaranteed at signing. $93 million of it was guaranteed at signing. He's got $93 million more today than he had the day before he signed the deal, whether he plays a down or he never misses a down. Then there are other levels of the guarantee. Let's just say that there is some sort of debate at the moment about what would happen if Tua stops playing, because there'd be two reasons. If he can't play because the doctors say you are not capable of ever playing again, he gets $124 million. If the doctors say, hey, man, you could play, but he chooses not to play, that means he gives up $124 million that's remaining. There is a fight that can happen between the union and the team about whether a player has been cleared to play. If you are a team, you want that player to be cleared. And if the player then chooses not to play, that means the player loses the money. You don't want to have a doctor say that the player can't play, because then you've got to pay him. So there are systems in place in the CBA where the way it works is you don't get to just take your team doctor. There's an independent doctor approved by the union and the owners. It's not just any doctor that stands up and says, hey, you're good, or hey, you're not good. When you're in that situation, it often leads to settlement discussions where the player and the agent and the team get together and say, listen, I understand you don't want to play. We think you can play. Let's talk turkey. And as we sit today, we're too early. All of the takes of Tua should retire, Tua's done, Tua's not done. We don't know exactly what's going on this morning medically with Tua. We don't know what's going on in his head, literally. The question is, all the talk of the NFL about traumatic brain injuries, safety of players, how important it is. How does Roger Goodell, with a straight face, look into the camera and say it is in the best interest of Tua to continue to play?